What's going on, everybody? We are back with Everything Private Eye. I got a special guest in the building. This is actually my dear friend, an actual friend, ELLIOT.
What up?
How you feeling? Let me give you this mic, man.
Hold on the mic.
It's the way that people got to hear you, man.
True that.
So I think, first of all, we go way back.
We do.
Probably like 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have many friendships that go back that deep, for real.
So how did you get involved with the Private Eye? And yeah, we'll start there.
Man, well, I've been involved with the Private Eye for at least, I want to say 8 years now. Moved out. I just hit my 10-year anniversary in LA, by the way.
Hey.
Which I know is the same day as your birthday.
Yeah, we met. Yeah, we
October 7th.
I remember the first time we met.
That's my LA birthday. Yeah.
I remember standing outside that club. You came up, you're like, hey, man. I was like, who is this guy?
And I was like, who the hell is this guy?
So how did you get involved with the Private Eye?
So Jack and I, we met on a film set, actually, Aquarius, David Duchovny's show. And this was, like I said, that was probably like 9 years ago. And then Jack and I, we met, hit it off that night. You know, we're both Cincinnati guys, same age, grew up 15, 20 minutes away from each other. So there was just like, the friendship was already kind of like served up to us. And at that time, neither of us had a car. And this was an all-night shoot, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So we were both taking the train home. So, you know, not only did we kick it on set, but we then took the train home, you know, the whole walk and talk, all that jazz. And then we took a little, like, you know, it was about a year and a half before we linked back up. And then when we linked back up, that's when things just started building for the Private Eye. I mean, Jack had written this beautiful script, and he actually came over, like, suited up, everything. He wanted to pitch me this role for the movie, actually in 7-Eleven Wilcox, where we used to live, bro.
Hey, I could picture it.
Yeah. So I didn't know what he was coming over. He's like, I got this project. I want to get you involved with it. I'm like, okay, dope. Let's hear about it. Little did I know he was coming over to like pitch me the second lead male role, you know. So of course I said yes, and then from there we just started like going around town trying to raise money, trying to talk to producers about it, trying to cast it. We had our sights set on the stars for sure. And so we continued our pitch, and the more investors that we were talking to and financiers, the more we were finding that majority of them were just looking for horror films. And you know, it doesn't take much to make them. You can do low budgets and they make a killing. Whether you do them right or not, they make a killing.
Yeah.
So we shelved the Private Eye a little bit, switched gears to a horror, wrote this script, and start raising money for it. Everything's looking good, you know, landing some big artists for it, this and that. And at the time, not only was COVID hitting, that wasn't even the main reason why that kind of backed off, but our DP. We were searching for the perfect DP for this role for 5 years and locked the guy in. So happy, so excited. Jack even moved to Cincinnati where we're going to be filming the movie, and dude died on Jack's drive home. Oh. And so it was extremely tragic and very sad. And so we ended up having to shelf that. Plus, it didn't help that COVID was going on, and some of our investors were, you know, now getting cold feet because the future was unclear.
Yeah.
But rather than just kind of sitting there with nothing to do, we're like, all right, let's raise as much money as we can, as little money as we can, and film something. We got to make something happen right now, you know? And that's when we pulled the Private Eye back off the shelf. The people who believed in us and supported us from the beginning threw some money our way. We pitched in a lot of our own money and made it happen.
And with that process, because you also star in it and as well as been a part of the production from the early birth of it.
Yeah.
With that, seeing it get done, when you were on set, did it ever like hit you? Like, wow, like this started with an idea and I saw it come to life? Or what was that experience like?
Yeah, I mean, they say enjoy the process, and that's really when I learned what that meant. Because there's a lot of uncertainties, especially in this industry, but in life in general. There's a lot of fear that can overcome us if we're not careful. And so when we decided to film The Private Eye, I remember like it was yesterday, we gave ourselves a start date. And we thought, we were going to have at least so much money by then. And we didn't even have half of that money by then. But we're like, you know what? We made a plan. We gave ourselves a deadline, a goal, and we're going to stick to it. And the most beautiful thing about it is like the fact that we just took that first step and went into production, got the cameras rented, got the insurance, got the permits, got the COVID officers at the time, all that stuff. That's when the investments started coming in, when people saw that we were actually really doing it. You can talk all you want to talk, and you can show them a beautiful script, and you can show them all these names attached, but until you're really doing it, that's when the magic starts happening, and that's when people come out of nowhere, or that's when just people want to support and they want to be a part of what you got going on.
Yeah. And with that movement and that trajectory, do you feel that because you got your feet wet with doing this and starring in it, is there more films in the future that you see yourself doing that as well, or would you rather be talent?
Oh, no. I mean, honestly, I still audition for everything that comes my way, and nothing against that part of the game, but like there's just so much that you don't have control of, and a lot of the times the auditions you're getting aren't necessarily the projects or the roles that you really want to be going out for. Like a lot of, because you really got to build yourself up with that path. I think, finding multiple avenues and rather than knocking on doors, breaking down doors is the technique that the true people who make it learn how to follow. And a lot of my idols and mentors in this industry are people who either created their own content from the beginning or caught a big break and then started creating their own content. So to answer your question, I always see myself a part of the production process, producing, creating. I like having control. I like bringing all my friends and getting them involved. I just like, wearing multiple different hats. Now, don't get me wrong. Acting is always going to be number one for me, always has been. So when I'm on set, especially one of our own projects, I'll produce the hell out of it, and I'm one of the first people there, last people there, running around like a madman. But on my days when I'm acting, that's the only thing I'm focused on. Make sure I get sleep the night before. Make sure I'm not occupied and grabbing the flowers from the flower shop or the props from this shop, or making sure the other actors are good. Like I'm the talent today.
What was the seed? Like how did you know you wanted to be an actor?
Well, I always knew, but I definitely took a trip around the world before I recognized it or understood it or was able to have the confidence to pull it out. I went to school, got a college degree in exercise physiology. So, as an 18-year-old kid, I wanted to be big and bold and confident and make these crazy life changes, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Everybody tells you different things. You hear all these other inputs from people telling you, oh, you need to figure it out, you need to do this, you need to go to college, you need to get a house, you need to have a family. And when I was about 21, a year and a half away from graduating, I went through a phase where I was just doing some deep soul searching, really discovering myself, questioning everything about what I've ever done and everything that I wanted to do. And the thing that I always came back to was acting. As a kid, I knew I wanted to do something big and that I was supposed to do something bigger with my life, or at least out of the norm. And being from Cincinnati, it's not really, realistic to be like, I want to be a professional actor. It's not really an industry there for that. And so it's easy to get persuaded and pushed away. But when I thought about it, as a kid, man, like, I loved Halloween. I had a collection of costumes. It didn't have to be Halloween. It could have been springtime or wintertime or summertime. And, I was going to the grocery store as Batman or freaking, or, a pirate or a cowboy, or, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And so that was something that I always go back to. And then just the school plays, too. I mean, there was just something special about the energy and just like the imagination that, and the creativity that you had to tap into that you really don't find in many industries. And that's something that I just felt like I really needed to give that a chance. And then the more I started watching movies specifically, the more I realized I could, this is something that I felt like I could do and even do better than a lot of what was going on.
Yeah. And with The Private Eye, with your character, was there anything specific that you did to prepare for that role? Or do you feel like that character was you?
Well, in a lot of ways, the character was me. That's a fact. But I definitely prepared. I mean, it wasn't, once you see it, it's definitely not me to the core. I mean, there's a little bit of sliminess and sketchiness to this guy. But I think with true, real intention, too. But for me, my process, I love the rehearsal. And that's something that a lot of projects you audition for. You don't really, they don't give you time to rehearse.
Yeah.
You might audition today, call back tomorrow, and you're on set on Friday.
Yeah.
And they don't even give you much of an insight of what the whole story's about. You'll know your character and what they want from you, but it's usually showing up that day when you finally find out like what the director might be really going for. That's more of like the audition process when you're still trying to just make a name for yourself. But for me, I love creating my own content and being a part of the process from the beginning because we spent 3 weeks minimum rehearsing with all the other talent for The Private Eye. But I mean, Jack and I, he was coaching me up and we were rehearsing for my role for the 9 years that I was preparing for it. And so for me, it's a lot more than also just like reading the script and memorizing the lines. Nowadays, that's the last thing I do.
Yeah.
It used to be the first thing I did in my younger years. I had to make sure I had the lines. I mean, a lot of coaches will teach you that, and they're very particular about not screwing up any lines and this and that. But what I've learned is the psychology behind it all and the situation that each scene calls for, and who is this guy? What was I doing before entering this scene? What am I doing after I leave this scene? Am I tired today? And that's real life too. Not just is my character tired, but how am I feeling?
Yeah.
If I'm tired, maybe play the character tired. Don't fake it,
So it still comes off believable.
Believable and authentic. I mean, my acting coach for years, Joshua Labar, he's the best. But he used to always teach that, you got to find the perfect balance of technical and authentic.
Yeah.
And so you got to have that technique, but it's got to be real. It's got to be believable. And so when I learned to really just like every waking hour preparing for this role, and that's not going through the lines in my head, that's I am this person today.
Yeah.
I played David in The Private Eye. I was David, and that's not even just doing the whole the actor technique of really like fully diving into that, but like mentally, as I'm laying in bed at night, I'd be going over my scenes and going over my thoughts, and then I'd go to the grocery store and I'd be like, oh, how would David act if he was in this grocery store right now?
Yeah.
And like, how would I interact with this person versus that person? And so that's the training that I did to prepare for this movie specifically, and I've never really been one to like kind of stick with one technique. For the next movie, I already have a different technique that I'm planning, but not even just planning, already been preparing. But for the Private Eye, it was definitely just years of just like, becoming this character to the point where I could turn it on and turn it off.
Yeah.
And not even turn it on and turn it off, I just made the character me.
Yeah.
Rather than becoming the character, I made the character me.
That's dope. Is there any characters that you look forward to playing in the future that you usually don't get casted for?
I mean, I always go for like the bad guy, like, cause like, you know me, I'm too nice usually, too friendly, and like that's just who I am. But I love pulling out that villain side of me, cause it's just something that I don't really do in real life.
Yeah.
And so that's something that always challenges me, but also it's like letting out some steam.
Yeah, yeah. And, when you discovered that you loved acting, when you discovered that, how has the industry been to you? I mean, this industry is volatile. It's a place that can make you or break you. And with everything that I know of you as a personal level, I always find you to view acting as such a joy and such a light. How do you keep that? Because there's so many creatives who are talented out here who let the industry jade them. And I've never, ever seen you operate in any kind of way other than love towards acting.
Well, thank you for saying that, because there's behind closed doors, I can't say that's always true, but I do believe that is the truth. I think it's just when I did my process of soul searching before I moved to LA and really was just trying to figure out what was I going to spend the rest of my life like not only perfecting but always getting better at. You know, I don't think that you can necessarily perfect anything because the world's always evolving and changing and upgrading hopefully, but I just knew that it was what I was supposed to do. And as soon as I not only realized that, but believed it, 100% believed it and started acting on it every day. I mean, it took me a long time to put actor first when people would ask me, what do you do? A lot of times it would be the last thing, I'm a personal trainer. Oh, and I work with kids. Oh, and, I work at a bar and I do catering and, what else don't I do? Oh, and also, I'm pursuing acting. That was it for a long time. Yeah. But years into it, when I finally built the courage and just like when I got real with myself and it was like, okay, who are you? And I started listing actor first. That's when it was just like the universe just started throwing everything at me. And I met a lot of the greatest people that are still in my life today. I mean, creatives and just people that wanted to support this dream and this life. And so for me, I think it all comes back to we've got one life. There's no promise for tomorrow. I'd rather be happy today than bitter or sad or depressed. And I know that, mental health goes way deeper than all of that, and a lot of it's out of our control. But I knew that there was no option to turn back. I knew that there was no giving up. And so I think it just kind of has to do with when you really give yourself a chance to find what you love and what you can be your truest self at, like how can you not be happy? It's just how can you not enjoy the process of it all?
From hearing you speak, like the way that you get into roles and how you approach even your own real life and ask yourself, like, what would David do? How would David respond in this situation? While you're preparing for a role, how often do you lose Elliot in your everyday life? And how do you define the two?
I mean, I think that you got to find the balance, and I'm never gonna lose Elliot. I mean, that's
let him know. Let him know.
That's who I am, and that's who y'all gonna know, whether you know him or not. That's who y'all gonna know. Nah, but I mean, I think the secret for me, because I've worked with many different acting coaches now, and it's they've sent me on a bunch of different journeys from different avenues, and some of them have told me this is the secret, or this is the way, or this is the technique, or this is, you know, what you got to do. And it's funny because I did all of that, and the more I was learning, and the more I was growing, and the more that I was like being real with myself and learning who I was inside and out, the more I found that, yeah, it was a full circle. Just getting back to being Elliot all the time. And like, so it didn't matter if I was preparing to be David or another role or, you know, the next role. At the end of the day, how can I be that character? But how can that character be me?
Yeah. What are you the most excited about for the release of Private Eye?
I'm just excited for everybody to see it, and I'm excited for the audiences to go on this ride and to, you know, I want to see, you know, who out there will figure it out before the twist is revealed. But also I want to hear people's thoughts at the end of it, because, you know, we've done little screenings for some people, and it's funny because a lot of people, they don't know what's going on at first, and it may seem slow, it may be confusing, and we've done some intermissions to question people in between, and a lot of people, they're just like, okay, we think it's great, but what the hell is going on? They're like, you know, and then all of a sudden, like, the questions that they were asking, as soon as the movie wraps up, they're like, oh my, how did I not see that coming? I gotta watch it another time. I gotta watch it a third time. Like, you know, and so that's one thing I'm definitely excited about, but I'm also really excited to really show people a side of me that most people close to me have never seen. The actor, and Elliot, the actor, a lot of my closest people, I mean, they've seen me do some little things here and little things there, and it's been a long time, you know, coming. I mean, I know that it's you know, easy to say, but, you know, it's a timeline that's different for everybody. But I'm just really excited. I truly think that this is my best role yet, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm just very proud of the talent around me. I mean, I think that, you know, you're as good as the people you surround yourself with in most situations, and I think that this was perfectly casted. I think that, you know, I believe that I brought everything I could to this project, but I truly believe that so did everybody else. And being around such talented cast and crew, it just made so much magic happen, especially during COVID. And especially just like working with a limited budget and pulling every favor that we ever made or were ever owed here in our careers of being filmmakers. Like, some days it would be like, oh shit, this is going wrong, or what do we do about this? And rather than asking questions, that's when I learned to just find solutions, and that's usually when you would get the most creative and the most beautiful things would happen. So yeah, that's why I'm just really excited for people to see this movie, because it's more than just something that you'll flip through on one of your streaming platforms. There's a lot of heart that went into this, a lot of art that went into this, a lot of just like magic that went into this, and it's just very special. I mean, it's very fun, and
it's beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful, man. Where can they find you? They watched the movie, they loved you, they loved your character, and now they're looking to find you. They want to follow you. They want to figure out what you're doing next.
I like to remain unfindable.
Here we go.
Nah, I mean, I do have an Instagram, Elliot Alive, but
the Tipsy Guru over there?
Tipsy Guru's still alive. I don't know. Hey, I've thought about bringing Tipsy Guru back. I ain't going to lie. But I did try to log into the account the other day, and I guess there was some, like, reported problems with that account over the years. I don't know why.
And for anybody who doesn't know,
who did this?
The Tipsy Guru was a character that Elliot created that I genuinely thought was going to go viral.
I think
that's
Wyon might be here.
Well, shout out your Instagram and then.
So my Instagram is Elliot Alive, but if you really want to find me, go watch The Private Eye in theaters February 2024, baby.
Hey, you heard it here.